Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here today with a video talking about whether I think Rise to War is free to play friendly or not. Now, in this video, I want to discuss this with people. I want to have some conversations. I don't really need people taking to the comments, just, saying, it absolutely is not and, getting more upset about it. That's not what the whole point of this video is. It's to have a conversation, have a discussion, talk about ways it can improve. And hopefully this is something the devs can see and see as a community that we agree on ideas. Hopefully these things can be implemented. Now, nothing's ever guaranteed, but it doesn't hurt to have conversations and talk about it. So if you'd like to join us for a little conversation, discussion, or just to hear the thoughts that I'm going to share, stay tuned. Again, if you're someone who's in the comments, kind of the keyboard warrior, who's just going to be like in all caps, screaming at people, this is probably not the spot for you, and you're just going to get yourself muted anyway. So let's have some conversations. Devs, if you are watching, please watch and listen, because I do think there are some pros and some good things on the free play side, and there are also some not so good things. And I think there's a lot that could be done relatively easily that would improve the experience for free to play players or low spenders or whatever it is, which would improve the game as a whole. Nobody loses in this situation. Even NetEase doesn't lose. Like, the game stands to make more money with a more active game. That means people want to be more competitive, more people spend. It's just a big, wheel that keeps going around. So I think it's a win-win, but it could be improved, and I want to talk about that a little bit today. So stay tuned. Is Rise to War free to play? That conversation coming up in just 1 second. Now, first off, jumping in, we're going to talk about some reasons I think Rise to War is free to play friendly and some reasons I think it is not free to play friendly. And when I talk about free to play friendliness, I'm sort of talking about within the game by itself or within the genre of video games. I'm not going to compare it to the game you can buy and play on your console for 1,000 hours. If I did that, nothing would be free to play friendly. Again, I bought 7 Days to Die for probably $7-8 like 11 years ago, and I played that game for over 1,000 hours. So in comparison to that, nothing is free to play. So we're talking sort of relative within this genre of RTS mobile games, or maybe mobile games in general. So just bear that in mind, because I think the wider you look at it, it becomes very difficult to kind of talk about. So we're just talking within this kind of spectrum of games. And I will say too, if this is your only game in this genre you've played, I'd say maybe do some research on other games too before you jump in and say it is or it isn't, because I do think that the points we're going to talk about today sort of are really for Rise to War compared to other games in this exact same genre. Now, the first point is going to be stamina. There is limited stamina on your commander, so it does not matter how whaled out you are. Obviously, you can buy one of the stamina potions a day, but for the most part, everyone is limited to the exact same amount of moves, and whales and krakens and whoever cannot just keep going and going and going to an unlimited extent. There is a cap on that, which I think is a great point for being more free-to-play friendly, because the whales and everybody else, all the free-to-play players, were all capped at the same level of movement. Other games like this do not have that same kind of system, and you can just move and move and move and move, and the whales can just go nonstop and never lose. So having a stamina system in this game is a good thing for free-to-play players. You can buy the potions, but that's just one a day. I'm not going to count that as like an unlimited amount, but everyone, whales, krakens, free to play, it doesn't matter. They're all limited to the same amount of moves, which is a very good thing for free to play. The next reason Rise to War is relatively free to play friendly is because of the barracks restriction. So every player in the game has the exact same barrack size and cannot ridiculously overfill that. Again, other games in this genre do not have this. So whales and krakens and whoever can just keep filling up their barracks nonstop. Here, we all are limited to the same amount of troops, which is another very good point for free-to-play players. Now, again, those 2 points by themselves aren't the end-all be-all for the free-to-play argument, but it is a good start, especially when you compare to other games in the genre, where those restrictions in Rise to War that at least limit the whales a little bit don't exist in other games. So just looking at those games and Rise to War in comparison, those points are pretty big to me, and I think do help with the free-to-play argument. Now, like I said, we could probably talk about 10-20 reasons on both sides, so let me know what you guys think. Again, I'm not here to read comments in all caps where people are freaking out, but if you actually have some thoughts and ideas, maybe we'll do a part 2 of this. Comment those down below if you have some reasons why you think Rise to War is friendly for free-to-play players. Comment those. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Now let's look at some reasons that Rise to War is not so free-to-play friendly. And the kind of bummer part for me for this are these are things that are more recently updated in the game. So I do think the game used to be more free-to-play friendly than it is right now. Now, the first one is the lack of any real counter system in the game. We do have our troop counter system, but on the whole, with there being 4 commanders in an army, with there being 4 formations in an army, there's just so much going on within those that it's really hard to really have any true hard counters or even soft counters. Before in Rise to War, you could have, just as a random example, you could have a wailed out Witch King running alchemists, and he was an absolute beast. And like there were some nasty, nasty Witch Kings. He's a tier 3 commander. He's great. You could have him at crazy respect, whatever it is. But if you go down and you look at someone like Dwalin, his kit could be built to be very anti-Witch King a couple of different ways. So a tier 1 commander with less wailed gear, less respect, whatever it is, could still counter Witch King. Now, depending on the wailed level and what your level is, it's not like it's always going to be a clean sweep, but you could play smart. You could survey the field. You could see who's out there and make more strategic decisions on who you're going to use, and that would kind of help determine the outcome of the battle. So players could use commanders like Khaldun and Dwalin and Grima and whoever it is on the lower end side to really counter some pretty wailed and solid commanders by using the right troops, by using the right gear and the right skills. And it didn't always mean you had to be wailed out. You could still get it done because just the commander as kind of a whole, how it was kind of built or made, would counter. So with there being 4 commanders per army, in my opinion, I just think it makes it almost impossible to really truly see someone on the field and go, oh, I'm going to counter this now because I know what counters Witch King or Sunnet or whoever it is now. It's just Dane, Bjorn, Gandalf the White, and Sauron. It's all these best commanders put together, and it's very hard to truly counter them. So I think the lack of a counter system in the game is a problem, and that makes it not as free-to-play friendly. All right, the next point on why Rise to War is not so free-to-play friendly is the occupation timers. Now, these can fluctuate a little bit depending on whether or not you're in your territory or an enemy. I'm in my territory right now, so right now it is 5 minutes for an occupation timer. But the fact that you have to sit here for up to 10 minutes sometimes to take a single tile is horrible for free-to-play players, because they could actually be playing smart and being active and moving around and taking tiles, all that good stuff, but they have to sit still for 10 minutes, which means bigger players, whales, krakens, whatever, can come in and knock them out while they're just kind of stuck here. So they have to either choose to just lose their troops here and get hit, or recall and waste a bunch of time. I think occupation timers are the worst. They need to go away. I'm not a huge fan of them, which we'll talk about in a second, but I do think the addition of occupation timers has hurt the free-to-play aspect of the game. Now, just like the other side where I said, if you have ideas on things that are free-to-play friendly about this game, if you have ideas and things that you think are not free-to-play friendly about Rise to War, comment those and let me know too. I want to compile both sides to see what kind of the argument looks like as a communal kind of, conversation happening. And again, I want to compile these and maybe even bring these forward and send them to the devs and say, hey, look, these are the biggest issues. These are the things we need done to help improve this game. Because again, nobody loses if this game is in a better place for free-to-play players. It's better for them. That means the game's more active, which is better for whales and krakens, which again also means it makes more money. It just goes round and round. So nobody loses, players, netties. So I'm really hoping we can illustrate that and show some actual ideas of things that could be changed to help. Now, some things that I think, again, I'd love your ideas as well, but some things that I think would help improve the free-to-play situation. Now, 2 of them are just going to be what we just talked about, so I won't spend too much time, but obviously the first 2 are going to be the addition or kind of adjustment of the counter system. Before, when it was 1 commander versus 1 commander, it was a lot easier to have counters and hard counters and actually play strategically. It was a lot more fun too. So I think, obviously, just like I said, it's something against it being free-to-play friendly. I think the addition or reintroduction of that somehow, which to be honest, 2.0 like overhauled the whole system. I don't see them going back on this. I think that's too big of a change to go back on. However, if there is some way to have more of a counter system, I think that'd be huge for everyone. Just have a better time. It's better for free-to-plays. It's also more fun for whales and krakens because you can play a little bit more strategically and do really well. Or if you're not paying attention, you kind of get smoked, which is, again, just part of the game. But we need some kind of a better counter system than it's in the game currently. Next up, like I already said, the occupation timers. This whole time I've been recording and had a few takes, whatever, I'm still occupying the exact same tile from earlier in the video. We need these timers to go away. That would absolutely be a win. Nobody likes them that I've talked to. I think the conversation I've heard is potentially a 1-minute occupation timer could be okay, because I do see some strategic value in it, allowing teams to have time to react and make moves if things are happening. But the removal of, or the addition of occupation timers hurt free to play, and the removal of the protection. You used to take tiles and have 3 minutes of protection. So, you could move around and watch your marches, make sure you're good. Now you just get wiped out all the time. It's not very fun for people that aren't spending a lot. So I think we need to get rid of or reduce the occupation timer significantly, like all the way or like 95%. And we need to bring back some sort of tile protection. The next thing, and I talk about this a lot, so I'm sorry if you've heard it before, but we need better events and better event rewards for free to play players. Obviously, spenders are going to spend, they're going to do that. That's fine. I think if you're spending, you're not relying on events to get things. But long time ago in this game, there were better events that as you played through them, not only were they more enjoyable, but they actually gave a little bit decent rewards. Now the events, if you played the last event that was out, they're a joke. They're absolutely a joke. And I do think we need and have had better events before. So I don't know why this has changed, because obviously they have the blueprint for how to do those things, but some better rewards, more gems, some Mathams, gear, respect, whatever, given out during an event, it gives players a reason to get on. And actually, that's a bigger difference for free to play players. Again, if you're a big whale and a kraken, you're not going to care that much about a little bit more gems or a few Mathams, but a little increase for free to plays is a huge deal. So again, this is a win-win, because if they do better events, they can also have more bundles and things to spend on, which then the Krakens do. So it's a win-win in my mind, where free to plays, they're still advancing, but the game's being more hyped up with events and people can enjoy that more too. So I see it as a win-win and just a missed opportunity. So we need better events to come back with better event rewards, especially for free to plays. And last but definitely not least, something that'd be crazy good for free to play players is matchmaking in Bag End. I've talked about this a lot before too, so I won't beat the dead horse, but we need some form of matchmaking in Bag End to help separate Season 3 teams from Season 13 teams. It's just not a fun situation. It's kind of the situation we're in this season, in the campaign I'm currently in, where we got in, we thought there'd be some other teams for us to compete with. It just turns out there was more new teams, and nobody likes it. Like the new teams don't like it. We don't like it. It's not fun. We don't want to beat up on smaller teams, whatever it is. It's not a good time. So we need some kind of matchmaking. Now, I think the argument here is Rise to War probably doesn't have enough players to really justify a matchmaking system. And I think part of this conversation too, we need to talk about the removal of the role play and non-role play. I think having players split at all like that is not a good thing right now. So I think we need to remove role play and non-role play. I think we need to reduce our campaign options down to 1, maybe 2 campaigns. And we need to have some matchmaking so players that are brand new don't get just wiped out by 14, 15, 16 season team players, whatever it is. So matchmaking would be huge, and I don't think it'd be that hard to implement, and it would be a huge difference maker, and it wouldn't actually mechanically change the game. So everything else we talked about sort of requires some kind of development or change, which may or may not happen. This is just a matchmaking system. The game stays the same. So at the very least, I think this is something that would be huge. But that will do it for my video on whether or not Rise to War is free to play or if it is not free to play. Again, I think like I talked about, there are points on both sides. I think there might be more recently on the side of it not being free to play, but that doesn't mean it's not free to play, or at least it's, not better than other games. But I want to hear what you guys think. I want to hear some points for both sides. I want to have some conversations, some discussions, like I said. And again, the big thing, I want to hear what we can actually do, because we can sit here all day as players and be like, it sucks, it's not free to play, this, whatever. That doesn't help anything. We need to come up with some ideas of how this can actually improve. So I talked about 4 things, and I want to hear what you guys think. Do you agree with those? Do you disagree? Do you have some more, additional details to add to them? Whatever it is, let me know. And if we can get enough attention behind videos like this, I'll be sending them on to the devs to say, hey, look, this is what the game needs. This is what the players want. This is a free-to-play players and whales and krakens coming together and having a conversation. This is what we want. I'd be happy, like I said, to kind of present that to them. Will anything happen? I don't know, but it's not going to hurt to try. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit different today. Again, we'll be back to some more, commander guides and new player stuff very soon. But I thought this was important, especially if you're brand new to the game. Just, we're a community. It's a pretty diehard community here for this game. So I thought it'd be important to kind of start a conversational video like this. So again, that's a long outro. So apologize for rambling, but let me know what you guys think. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.